I bought my first house when I was 22. Now, before you run away, I don't say that to brag. I say it because it's become so uncommon and it really shouldn't be. As a matter of fact, the median age of our first-time homebuyer has gone up significantly enough to call them an all-time high. That's pretty crazy. So last year in November, the National Association of Realtors put out the new median age of our first-time homebuyer, and they said it's 40 years old, which I couldn't believe. That's older than I am now, and I've bought several houses since then. So going back, 2011, 15 years ago, I was a 22-year-old kid with a lot less facial hair and a lot less brains, to be honest. I went to a little bit of college, but I hadn't graduated by any means, and I was working at Discount Tire. So you might think like, man, okay, this kid was working at Discount Tire, didn't graduate college, what did he know about buying houses? And he must have bought a dump in a terrible area. But that actually couldn't be further from the truth. I was 22 years old. I definitely did have no clue and no roadmap, but I bought a brand new construction home in Cypress, Texas. I still live in Cypress, so still a great area, and I'm super happy over there. But if you're Gen Z or younger millennial and you're looking to purchase your first home, this video is for you. I've sat back and wondered for at least a couple months, and maybe you're wondering too, like, why has that number gone up so significantly? And you know, we could get into politics and inflation and the economy, all sorts of stuff, but taking away all the excuses, I think it comes down to one pretty simple thing, and that's that they don't teach this stuff in school. So unfortunately, you didn't have a roadmap set out for you. You didn't have any kind of education on this, but fortunately for you, I love to educate people on how to purchase homes and give them the roadmap on what to do. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you the roadmap to go from, I think I'm ready to buy a house, to, oh my God, I have keys to my very own house in hand. So if you're ready, let's get started right now. The very first step is to watch this video, but even deeper than that, maybe get this from me. If you'd like this, you reach out to me and I'll get you a copy. But outside of that, you can actually reach out to me and we can schedule a buyer consultation, because that's step one, is to meet with a realtor who's gonna answer all your questions, put down all your fears, and help to put a plan in place specific to you. So if you'd like to set up that consultation, reach out to me and let's do it. I actually put step one and step two together. Our step two is, unless you're paying cash and you won the lottery, step two is going to be to get a pre-approval. A pre-approval is given to you by a lender who puts your financial picture in place so that you know what you can actually afford and what you're comfortable with more than anything, because they might say you can afford $1 million house, but you may see the payment on that and you may be like, what are you smoking? I'll take a $500,000 house. That is way more within budget for me. The thing that I don't want you to do is become house poor, right? I still want you to live your life, and if you like to go on vacations to Antigua or go to Disneyland with the kiddos, whatever the case is, I want you to be able to do that. Maybe you just like to go shopping, and I don't want you to have to be giving all of your money to a house, right? I want this to be an enjoyable experience from very beginning all the way through to you enjoying that asset. So you've sat down and met with me and we've answered all your questions and you've applied for your home loan and we know what you can afford. What's our next step? Step 3 of 9 is going to be setting up your customized home search. So you're gonna tell me, Cody, I need 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and I definitely don't want a 2-story home. I want a 1-story home, and I need it to be in Tomball, Texas, or I need it to be in Waller, wherever you want to live. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna comb the market to see what's available with that criteria. Then I'm gonna email it to you, and I'm gonna set that search up to run the market every 10 minutes. If anything new pops up and it matches that criteria, you're gonna get it first. And I'm gonna make sure I get it too, so that I can keep up with the market while you're at work. You never have to worry if we're gonna miss a house. We're not. You and I are gonna have firsthand knowledge of everything new. Now, from that search, we're gonna set up in-person tours, because catfishing is real. Everybody's been on Tinder and Hinge and gone on a date where the person did not look like what their profile picture looked like, and shopping for houses can often be the same. So we're going to use our in-person tours to make sure that doesn't happen, and what we see online is what we see in person, or maybe it's better, right? But we're going to come across some scenarios where the house is not what it said it was online. So aside from catfishing, we're also going to get a feel for this property and what it kind of looks like structurally and mechanically. I'll be able to look at the serial numbers on the AC and the water heater, see how old those things are. We'll kind of be able to glance up at the roof and look around to see if there's any major cracks that might concern us with foundation, things of that nature, to see if this is a house that you'd even really want to make an offer on and do inspections on. Some houses you can tell that they have problems right away and you just don't want to even make the offer to get to inspections. So that brings me to my next step. Step 4 is actually putting an offer in on a house that you do love and you would like to find out more about. So this is sort of our dating period, right? We're going to find out a little bit more about this house, but I'm going to get all of the paperwork together and I'm going to go over that paperwork with you to make sure you understand what you're getting into. Now that first bit of our contract, if our offer gets accepted, you're going to have earnest money deposit, which is about 1% of the sales price. That just lets the seller know that you're serious. It gets deposited into an escrow account with a title company so that nobody can touch it unless you decide to back out of contract and get that money back, or if you close on the house and it goes towards your down payment and closing costs. Those things we'll go over here in just a little bit. The other thing is the first portion of our contract. If we negotiate back and forth a little bit and get your offer accepted, or if there's no negotiations and you get your offer accepted straight away, then you also have the first portion of the contract, which is called your termination option period. This is a contingency of the contract that basically is used for inspections, but it also gives you the exclusive right to leave the contract within a certain time frame, typically 7 to 10 days, and not have to tell anybody why you're backing out, just that you don't want to move forward anymore. But typically it is for inspection. So we're going to make sure we inspect just generally everything, your structural and mechanicals of the house. So that's your AC, your electrical, plumbing, windows, doors, roof, all of the above. You're also going to want to make sure you get a wood destroying insect inspection. So this is going to inspect for carpenter ants and termites, which down here in Houston, wet climate, we have something called subterranean termites. And that wood destroying insect inspector is going to make sure that there's no previous evidence of damage or repairs, that there's no current activity, which would be terrible, or that there's no conducive conditions. So stuff like wet wood or soil that's a little bit too high on the foundation, things of that nature. So we're going to make sure we get all of those inspections taken care of, along with anything else that you deem necessary. If you want a specific professional to come out and evaluate the foundation or AC, whatever the case is, we can definitely utilize this time to do that. Inevitably, we are going to find some things, and at this point you're going to decide, hey, yes, I'll be comfortable moving forward if we get these things fixed, or if they give us money to fix these things, or no, you know what, this is just too much and I don't want to move forward. Let's say that there are some repairs and you'd like to negotiate to repair these things, then we'll work with the seller to get those things repaired by them, or to get money towards your closing costs so that you can save a little bit of money. They're not actually giving you cash or a check or something like that. They're putting money towards your closing costs so that you can save enough money to do repairs after closing. Part of my favorite thing is to negotiate. So this is one of my favorite parts of the contract. It's also one of the most unstable parts of the contract. Talking about resale. Now, if we're talking about new construction, we don't have this right to back out of the contract. You can get inspections and you should get an inspection. Usually they'll fix everything on there, but we don't have the right to back out of the contract for that. So moving on to step 6. Between steps 6 and 7, we actually have what's called no man's land or dead zone, because you're working a lot more with your lender to get your financial approval and a little bit less with me. Now, what am I doing during this time? I'm going to Get measurements of your home. That's important because you need to know what size fridge you can buy. You need to know if your furniture is going to fit, certain things like that. I'm going to send you a video of your home so that you can say, hey, this is the house we're buying, or you can just generally look at it and kind of imagine how things are going to look, because we're not going to the house every day. So it's nice to have that video. I'm going to help you with insurance contacts, home warranty contacts, any other professionals that you might need, transferring over your electricity, water, gas, all of the utilities, everything like that. But for the most part, you'll be working with your lender to clear conditions. So they will have a picture of your file, but that file is going to get reviewed by an underwriter. Underwriter is going to maybe have some questions. They may look at your bank statements and see that you've deposited $7,500, and they might say, well, where did this $7,500 come from? And they'll ask you, and you'll say, well, I sold a motorcycle because I wanted to buy a house, so just got rid of it. And they'll say, okay, hey, write us a letter saying that you sold it, and then give us a bill of sale from the sale of that motorcycle, right? So you'll provide them with those things, and they'll be able to clear that condition based on those. That's just an example, but it's not the only example. The other thing that you'll be doing is ordering an appraisal on your property. The appraisal is an appraiser going to the property and making sure that the house is lendable so that it's not falling apart, but also comparing it against other similar sales to make sure that it's actually worth what you're about to get money for on it. So if you offered $300,000 for this house, they want to make sure that it's worth at least $300,000. At the end of the day, you could get foreclosed upon, God forbid, if you stop making the payments, and then the lender's got to take that back and try to sell it and recoup their money. So best believe they want to make sure that it's worth what you're about to pay for it. Typically, we don't have any issues on appraisal, and I'm going to tell you what those might be here in a minute. But the reason we don't is because up front, before we put the offer in, my team is making sure that yes, we're offering a fair value, or we're offering under fair market value, so that you're very aware everything should be okay. Now, again, an appraisal is just done by an appraiser who is a human being and subject to making mistakes, right? But let's say the appraiser, or you're offering $300,000 and the appraisal comes back at $300,000. Great. That means you paid what it's worth, right? If it comes in higher, let's say the appraiser says, actually, this house is worth $320,000 and you're paying $300,000, does that mean you have to pay more? No, it doesn't. It's nobody's business what this thing is worth except you and the lender, and if they tell me, mine too. But you don't have to overpay at that point, just means you have instant equity. So the house is worth more than you paid for it. Great. Now, if it comes in under, so let's say you offered $300,000 and it's worth $295,000. Now, Cody has a job to do. I've got to figure out how we can continue to move forward, or if we're going to be able to move forward. In an ideal world, I will take this appraisal to the seller and say, hey, our appraisal came in at $295,000. You need to bring your price down, and we move forward and you get the house as a buyer for less. But that doesn't have to happen. They don't have to bring their price down if they don't want to. So then we may come to a meeting of the minds of, you know, I'm not going to overpay for this house by $5,000, but I will overpay for it by $2,000. So you bring your price down $3,000, and the extra $2,000, I'll bring it to closing. Or they say, the seller says, no, I'm not going to bring my price down at all. I don't care. I'd just rather move along with somebody else and they can get their own appraisal and maybe it comes out different. And then you say, well, I don't want to move forward, I'm out. Or, yeah, that's fine, I'll bring the $5,000 extra and overpay on this house by $5,000. Most people aren't going to do that, but it is your option to do so if you would like to. So once we clear that appraisal, we really don't have any more hiccups after that. An appraisal, by the way, could be one of those conditions that we clear. If we don't have the appraisal back yet and we have conditional approval, it may be subject to receiving that appraisal back. So that could be another condition that we're looking to clear. Once we have cleared all the conditions, the file goes back to the underwriter. Underwriter says, yep, everything looks good and we are ready to lend you the money. You get what's called a clear to close. You have 3 days to review the financial information, make sure you're okay with the interest rate, make sure you're okay with the financial terms, and whether you're doing a loan for 15, 20, 30 years, whatever the case is. 30 years is most common, by the way. And we will schedule our closing, which is where you'll sign the final documentation, and we'll schedule a final walkthrough of the home to make sure everything is all good. At our final walkthrough, we're gonna make sure that if there was repairs, those repairs have been done, that the house hasn't flooded, burned down, anything like that, not been vandalized, broken into. If there were people living there prior to us actually purchasing it and they moved out, that there's been no damage to the property. They didn't scratch the walls moving out. They didn't accidentally put a gouge in the wall, break a door, anything like that. And on the repairs, like 3 or 4 days prior to us actually doing the final walkthrough, I will make sure I have receipts and pictures of the repairs so that we can just kind of verify as we go. So we'll go from that final walkthrough to the title company to sign all of your final documents, and we'll be able to put keys in your hand that day. Now, that's a lot, and you probably feel like, man, I just drank water through a fire hose. That was a lot of information. Again, this video is here for you to review, so you can go back, or you can ask for this and I'll give it to you. And beyond that, we can have a consultation and I'd be happy to answer your questions right here, right now. So again, Gen Z, younger millennial, you're ready to buy your first home? Start right here. Start right now. Let's make our first-time home buyers young again. I'm Cody Muir with the Cody Muir Realty team at CB&A Realtors, and we'd be happy to make you a home buyer today.